The rain hammered against the windshield like accusations, each drop a reminder of the storm brewing inside the old Ford pickup. Elijah gripped the steering wheel until his knuckles bleached white, his heart slamming against his ribs as he pulled into the gravel driveway of the house that had once felt like home. Now it loomed like a prison. "You're not my son anymore." His mother's voice echoed in his head, sharp as shattered glass. The words she'd hurled at him just hours ago after finding the photo on his phone. Him and Mason, tangled in a kiss under the Ferris wheel lights at the county fair. Elijah killed the engine, but the silence roared louder. He was 22, fresh out of community college with a graphic design certificate gathering dust in his glove box, and all he wanted was to grab his duffel bag and vanish into the neon haze of Chicago. But Mom Linda, with her peroxide blonde bob and calloused hands from years waitressing at Denny's, had begged him to come back. "Just one dinner," she'd sobbed over the phone. "Let me make it right?" As if apologies could glue back the pieces of a family she'd spent years trying to hammer straight. He stepped out into the downpour, water soaking through his flannel shirt, and slammed the door hard enough to rattle the porch light. The screen door creaked open before he reached it, and there she was, Linda, eyes red-rimmed, apron dusted with flour from whatever casserole she'd thrown together as a peace offering. "Elijah," she whispered, voice cracking like thunder in the distance. He froze, the weight of her gaze pinning him like a butterfly to a board. Inside, the kitchen smelled of overcooked meatloaf and regret. The Formica table was set for three, always for three, even after Dad's heart attack 5 years back left an empty chair that no one dared fill. Elijah dropped his bag by the door, water pooling at his boots, and met her eyes. They were the same stormy blue as his own, but hers swam with something feral now. Desperation, laced with the ghost of denial. "Sit," she said, gesturing to his chair. Her hands trembled as she ladled mashed potatoes onto his plate. I talked to Pastor Reynolds today. He says there's still hope." Elijah's fork clattered against the ceramic. "Hope." The word twisted in his gut like a knife. He'd heard it 1,000 times, first from the counselors she dragged him to after catching him staring too long at the quarterback in high school gym class. Conversion therapy, they called it back then, before the lawsuits and the headlines made it taboo. Prayer circles in church basements, where strangers laid hands on him and whispered about demons. Electric shock aversion sessions in a dingy office outside Peoria, where a quack with a medical degree from a diploma mill zapped his palms every time he admitted to dreaming about boys. And through it all, Mason had been his anchor. They'd met at the community college art show 2 years ago. Mason, with his easy grin and ink-stained fingers, sketching portraits that captured souls. One look at Elijah's charcoal drawing of a lone figure under a fractured sky, and Mason had slid into the seat beside him. "That's you, isn't it?" Hiding in plain sight. 6 months later, they were stealing weekends in Mason's cramped apartment above a laundromat in Rockford, bodies pressed close in the dark, whispering futures that didn't involve hiding. But Mom had found out. Snuck into his room while he was at work, rifled through his phone like it was evidence in a crime scene. The texts, the photos, the voice memos of Mason's laugh, it was all there, laid bare. She'd confronted him that night, Bible in one hand, his phone in the other. "This isn't you, Eli. It's a phase. A sickness. We'll fix it." Now, as the rain drummed on the roof, Elijah pushed his plate away. "I'm not broken, Mom. And neither is what I feel for him. Linda's face crumpled, but she rallied, like she always did, steel spine from raising him alone after Dad's mill accident. I love you, baby. That's why I have to try. Dr. Hargrove in Springfield, he's got this new program. Retreats in the Ozarks. Men like you go in confused, come out whole. Elijah laughed, bitter and hollow. Men like me? You mean gay men? Say it, Mom. For once, just say it. She flinched, crossing her arms like a shield. It's not natural. God doesn't. God. He stood, chair scraping back. The same God who made me this way, who let Dad die broke and scared in that hospital bed. If he's got a problem with who I love, he can tell me himself. The words hung heavy, and for a moment, silence swallowed the room. Then Linda reached across the table, her hand hovering near his. Please, Eli. For me. One weekend. If it doesn't work, I'll stop. He wanted to scream, to run. But her eyes, those eyes that had read him bedtime stories about cowboys and open plains, held him captive. One weekend. What was one more scar? Fine, he muttered, sinking back down. But this is the last time. She nodded, relief flooding her features, and squeezed his hand. Felt like chains, warm and unyielding. The drive to Springfield the next morning was a funeral procession in slow motion. Linda chattered about nothing, grocery sales, the neighbor's new puppy, her voice a brittle veneer over the chasm between them. Elijah stared out at the endless cornfields blurring past, I-55 a gray ribbon under overcast skies. His phone buzzed in his pocket. Mason. Miss you already. Call when you can. Love you. He typed back a quick soon before Mom could glance over, her fingers white-knuckled on the wheel. Dr. Hargrove's office was in a strip mall sandwiched between a vape shop and a payday loan joint. Irony not lost on Elijah. The waiting room smelled of stale coffee and Lysol, walls papered with faded posters of smiling families and Bible verses about renewal. Hargrove himself was a wiry man in his 50s, bow-tie askew, eyes gleaming with the fervor of a man who'd built his career on other people's pain. Welcome, son, he boomed, clapping Elijah on the shoulder like they were old fishing buddies. Your mother's done the right thing. This retreat, it's a miracle factory. The retreat was a converted summer camp on the edge of the Ozarks. Cabins clustered around a man-made lake like wary sentinels. 20 men. All ages. All shapes. But the same haunted look in their eyes. Secrets dragged into the light. Elijah checked in under Mom's watchful gaze, her hugging him goodbye like he was shipping off to war. Pray for me, she'd whispered, tears streaking her mascara. He nodded, throat tight, and watched her taillights disappear down the dirt road. That first night, around the bonfire, Hargrove preached fire and brimstone wrapped in therapeutic jargon. Your desires are wounds, brothers. But wounds heal. We'll excise the rot, stitch you back with God's thread. The men nodded, some murmuring amens, others staring into the flames like they could burn away their truths. Elijah sat on the periphery, sketching idly in the dirt with a stick, a rough outline of Mason's profile, jaw set in that defiant tilt. A hand landed on his shoulder. Caleb, a lanky farm kid from Iowa, maybe 19, with freckles and a stutter that worsened when he talked about his preacher father. First time, Caleb asked, voice barely above the crackle. Elijah nodded. You. Third. Caleb's laugh was a ghost. Keeps. Not sticking. They talked late into the night, voices low as the fire died to embers. Stories spilled out, beatings, disownments, nights spent praying on bathroom floors until knees bruised. Elijah shared about Mason, the way his laugh lit up dingy diners, how his touch felt like coming home. Caleb listened, eyes wide, then confessed his own crush on the barista back home. Feels like breathing underwater. Drowning, but sweet. By dawn, Elijah felt a fragile kinship, but the real work began with dawn prayers and group affirmations. Partners were assigned, straight, healed men tasked with modeling healthy attraction. Elijah's was Tom, a burly ex-Marine with a buzz cut and a wedding ring tan line faded from divorce. Think of women. Elijah. Soft curves, nurturing hands. That's God's design. Elijah bit his tongue through the exercises, holding hands with a photo of a model from a catalog, reciting mantras about biblical manhood. But at night, in the bunkhouse, doubts crept in like fog off the lake. What if Mom was right? What if love like his was a flaw? A glitch in the code of small-town normalcy? Halfway through the weekend, the isolation cracked. A smuggled phone charger. A stolen moment in the woods. Caleb pressing a burner phone into Elijah's palm. Call him, he'd urged. Mason's voice, when it connected, was a lifeline. Eli? God, I've been losing my mind. Your mom's been texting me. Says you're making progress. What the hell does that mean? Elijah choked on a sob. It means she's killing me, Mace. Piece by piece. Mason's breath hitched. Come home. Screw the retreat. I'll drive down. Bust you out. No, Elijah whispered, glancing at the cabin shadows. I promised. But after we're done hiding. Chicago, you and me. Real life. I love you, Mason said, fierce and unyielding. And I ain't letting go. The call ended, but the warmth lingered, a spark in the cold. Elijah deleted the history, pocketed the phone, and returned to the circle of folding chairs where Hargrove droned on about surrender. But surrender? Not today. The final day of the retreat dawned muggy, the Ozarks heavy with the scent of pine and unspoken fractures. Elijah woke to the rustle of sleeping bags and Caleb's soft whimpers from the bunk above. Nightmares, probably, the kind that chased you through corn mazes of guilt. He lay there, staring at the water-stained ceiling, replaying Mason's voice like a talisman. I love you. Simple words, but in this place, they were revolution. Breakfast was oatmeal and scripture, served on plastic trays that stuck to the humidity. Hargrove circulated like a warden, nodding approval at men who shared breakthroughs. Tom clapped Elijah's back. You're quiet today, son. The demons fighting back. Elijah forced a smile. Just processing. Process hard. Yield. And freedom's yours. Freedom. The word mocked him as they filed into the chapel, a drafty frame with plywood pews and a cross carved from driftwood. Today's session, confronting the sin within. Volunteers stepped forward, bearing souls to the group. A middle-aged accountant from St. Louis wept about his wife's betrayal after his relapse. Code for a grinder hookup. I thought I was cured, he sobbed. But the temptation. It's a beast. Hargrove laid hands on him, the circle joining in a cacophony of prayer. Elijah's skin crawled. He'd been that volunteer on day one, voice trembling as he admitted his struggle with Mason. The hands on his shoulders had felt like weights, pressing him into the earth. When the circle broke for lunch, Caleb pulled him aside behind the mess hall, face pale as milk. "I am leaving. Tonight. Can't do another minute." Elijah's heart stuttered. "How?" They checked the gates. Stolen keys from the shed. Hitch to Branson. Bus from there. Caleb's eyes darted. "Wild. Come with? We could. Start over. Together." The offer hung, tempting as forbidden fruit. Caleb's touch earlier that week, accidental brushes during hikes, lingering gazes had stirred something, a flicker of confusion in the retreat's pressure cooker. But it wasn't real, not like Mason's steady flame. "I can't," Elijah said gently. "There's someone waiting. Someone who sees me, all of me." Caleb nodded, hurt flashing before resolve hardened it. "Lucky. Right if you make it out alive." They hugged, fierce and fleeting, and Elijah watched him slip away that afternoon, a shadow melting into the treeline. Guilt gnawed, but so did resolve. The Caleb could run, so could he in his own way. Back home in Decatur, the illusion shattered faster than expected. Mom picked him up at the bus station, her smile brittle as she scanned his face for signs of salvation. "How was it, baby? Did it help?" Elijah stared out the window at the flatlands unspooling like old film. "It was hell, Mom. But I came out the other side." Her grip tightened on the wheel. "Out? What do you mean?" "Free. From the lies. From trying to be what I'm not." Silence stretched, taut as a bowstring, until she pulled into the driveway. Inside, the house felt smaller, air thick with the ghosts of arguments past. She busied herself in the kitchen, slamming cabinets, while Elijah unpacked in his old room, posters of classic cars yellowed, bedspread unchanged since high school. His phone lit up. "Mason. On my way. Be there in 2 hours. Pack light, we're gone." Heart racing, Elijah texted back, "Doors unlocked. Hurry." But Mom found him first. Burst into the room, eyes wild, clutching a printout from Hargrove's follow-up email. "He says you resisted. Refused the final commitment prayer. Eli, what did you do?" "I lived," he snapped, zipping his bag. "I can't keep doing this to myself. To us." Her face twisted, shock, then fury, then something deeper, fear. "You're throwing away your soul. For what? Some boy who'll leave you broken?" I saw the texts. "Eli. Chicago dreams? That's running. Not fixing. It's love, Mom. Real love. Not your version, with picket fences and Sunday potlucks. Mason gets me, the art, the doubts, the mess. He doesn't want to change me." She recoiled as if slapped. "Love? That's lust talking. Sin. Your father, God rest him, would roll in his grave. Dad knew." Elijah shot back, voice breaking. "The night before he died, he pulled me aside. Said, 'Be brave, kid. Love who you love. Life's too short for regrets.' You think he'd want this? You dragging me through hell to fit your Bible study mold?" Linda staggered back, hand to her chest. He said that." Elijah nodded, tears hot on his cheeks. "Yeah. And you? You've been so scared of losing me to the devil that you've pushed me away for good." The front door burst open then, wind howling in Mason's wake. He was soaked from the sudden squall, dark curls plastered, leather jacket dripping on the linoleum. Eli, his eyes scanned, landing on the standoff. Shit. Bad timing. Mom whirled, face ashen. You. This is your fault. Poisoning my boy. Mason stepped forward, hands raised, voice steady as bedrock. Mrs. Harper, with all due respect, Eli's not a boy. He's a man. And he's choosing his path. If that's poison, then yeah, guilty. But I love him. More than fear ever could. She laughed, a jagged sound. Love? You call sneaking around love? I know your kind, flashy tattoos, city dreams. You'll use him up and spit him out. Mason's jaw clenched, but he held her gaze. Try me. I've got a job waiting in Chicago, freelance illustrator. Eli's got talent that could light up galleries. We're building something real. Not hiding. Elijah grabbed his bag, heart pounding. Mom, this is it. Come with us, or let me go. But stop the fixing. I'm not a project. She sank onto the edge of the bed, deflating like a punctured tire. I just wanted you safe. Normal. Happy. Like your cousins with their wives and babies. Happy's not a script, Elijah said softly, kneeling beside her. It's Mason's hand in mine during thunderstorms. The sketching until dawn without shame. You taught me to fight for what's right, fight for this. For a heartbeat, her hand brushed his cheek, thumb tracing the scar from a childhood bike crash. Then it dropped, and her voice hardened. Go, then. But don't come crying when it falls apart. The words were a blade, but Elijah stood, Mason's arm slipping around his waist. A shield, promise. They left without another word, the door clicking shut like a full stop. The drive north was a blur of taillights and tension, I-55 giving way to the glow of Joliet, then the skyline's jagged teeth. Mason's apartment was a third-floor walk-up in Wicker Park, walls alive with canvases and the hum of the L train. They collapsed onto the futon, bodies entwining in a tangle of relief and need. You're mine, Mason murmured against Elijah's neck, kisses trailing fire. No more retreats. No more hiding. Elijah arched into him, fingers threading through damp curls. Ours. Finally. But peace was fleeting. Days blurred into weeks of job hunts and late-night sketches, their love a fever that burned bright. Mason landed a gig at an indie comic shop, Elijah waitering at a hipster cafe while pitching designs online. Nights were theirs, rooftop picnics under stars smudged by city haze, bodies mapping each other like uncharted maps. Then the call came, shattering the bubble. Mom's number on Elijah's screen, voice small and slurred. Had she been drinking? Eli? Bad. The house. Foreclosure notice. I can't. Guilt crashed in, tidal and unrelenting. What happened? Lost shifts at work. Pills for the pain. Back's killing me. And you. Gone. It's all crumbling. Mason found him later, curled on the fire escape, staring at the alley below. She's baiting you, Eli. Don't go back. But what if she's right? What if I am the poison? Mason pulled him close, breath warm on his temple. You're the antidote to all the bullshit. But family. It's messy. Go if you have to. Just come back. The Greyhound to Decatur was half empty, ghosts in the seats beside him. Mom met him at the station, thinner, eyes hollowed by shadows. The house was a husk, unpaid bills piled on the table, Dad's old recliner sagging under dust. "I didn't know where else," she whispered, handing him a mug of instant coffee. They talked, halting at first, then flooding, her childhood in a strict Baptist home, Dad's quiet acceptance of Elijah's differences before cancer silenced him. "I thought I was protecting you," she admitted, tears carving tracks. "From the world. From me turning into my mom." Elijah reached for her hand. "You did. In ways. But love isn't protection if it cages." She nodded, fragile. "Hargrove called," said Caleb, the boy from the retreat, "took his life. Jumped from a bridge in Iowa." The words landed like lead. Elijah's vision blurred. Caleb's stutter, his hopeful grin gone. "Because of this place, partly. His dad found out. More therapy." Her voice broke. "I almost lost you the same way." He held her as she sobbed, the dam breaking. For the first time, no sermons, no fixes, just two broken people piecing truths. Back in Chicago, the weight lingered, but Mason's arms chased shadows. They mourned Caleb with a vigil sketch, Elijah's pencil capturing his freckled hope, and vowed to fight, quietly, for others. Flyers for local support groups, anonymous donations to anti-conversion hotlines. But betrayal brewed in the heartland. Weeks later, a package arrived, Mom's handwriting on the label. Inside, Elijah's childhood Bible, pages dog-eared to Leviticus, and a letter. "I met someone. Pastor Reynolds. He's helping. But you're still my son. Forgive, forgive." The word tasted like ash. Mason read it aloud, voice tight. "She's circling back. Don't let her." Elijah burned the letter in the sink, flames licking scripture. "I won't. But she's family. Messy, broken family." Autumn painted Chicago in fire, leaves torching the parks, wind off Lake Michigan sharp as regret. Elijah and Mason's life settled into a rhythm, gritty and golden. Mornings tangled in sheets that smelled of coffee and charcoal. Afternoons hustling gigs. Evenings lost in each other's skin. Mason's comic strips started gaining traction online. Quirky tales of queer outlaws in steampunk saloons. Elijah's designs popped up on Etsy. Abstract swirls of emotion that sold to strangers who saw their own hidden hurts. Yet the call from Mom lingered like a bruise. Elijah texted sporadically, "How's the back? Weather here's brutal. Neutral ground. Testing waters." Her replies were clipped. "Better. Praying for you." No mention of Reynolds. But Elijah pictured it, her at church suppers, nodding along to sermons on redemption, his absence a silent sermon of her own. One crisp October night, Mason dragged him to a gallery opening in Pilsen. Murals splashed across brick walls, air buzzing with Chardonnay and pretension. "Your stuff belongs here," Mason insisted, hand firm on Elijah's lower back. They wandered, sipping cheap wine, until a voice sliced through the crowd. "Elijah Harper?" He turned, heart lurching. There stood Dr. Hargrove, bowtie pristine, flanked by a cluster of suits funders, maybe scouting faith-based wellness for tax breaks. "Fancy seeing you in the den of iniquity," Hargrove chuckled, eyes raking over Mason's tattooed forearms. Elijah's blood iced. What are you doing here? Expanding the mission. Urban outreach. Lost souls like you. Plenty in the city. His gaze lingered on their linked hands, pity curling his lip. Still struggling. Son. Mason stepped forward, voice low thunder. He's thriving. Unlike your snake oil cult. Hargrove's smile didn't waver. Aggression. Classic sign. But there's grace for warriors too. He pressed a card into Elijah's palm, New Horizons urban retreat, before melting into the throng. Elijah crumpled it, nausea rising. How'd he even know? Doesn't matter, Mason growled. Block him. Block them all. But the encounter festered, a splinter under skin. That night, as they lay spent and sticky, Elijah confessed the gnawing. What if Caleb's ghost is right? What if running doesn't fix it? Just delays the crash. Mason propped on an elbow, tracing Elijah's collarbone. Caleb's ghost wants you fighting, not folding. We're not delaying, we're building. You, me, this. He kissed him slow, deep, until doubts dissolved into moans. Still, Elijah couldn't shake it. He dove into work, sketching feverishly, a series called Fractured Saints, portraits of men like Caleb, eyes defiant, halos cracked. One sold to a curator at the opening, word spread. Invites trickled in, readings at queer bookstores, panels on Midwest coming out stories. Mom's next call came mid-November, snow dusting the L tracks. Eli? I need to see you. Reynolds, he proposed. Wedding soon. I want you there. The line went silent, Elijah's breath fogging the window. Mason, eavesdropping from the kitchen, mouthed no. But family. When? December 20th. Decatur First Baptist. Please. For closure. Closure. Or another cage. He agreed, against Mason's protests. It's just a wedding. In and out. The bus ride south was a descent. City grit yielding to rural hush. Billboards for megachurches looming like billboards for salvation. Mom met him at the station, bundled in a wool coat, cheeks flushed. You look good, she said, hugging stiffly. City suits you. The house was tidier, Reynolds' influence evident. Fresh paint, a cross-stitched blessed on the wall. Over pot roast, she chattered about the pastor, widower, kind eyes, understands loss. Elijah nodded, probing gently. You happy? She paused, fork midway. Safe. Seen. Like I matter. And me? Do I still matter? Her eyes welled. Always. That's why. Reynolds knows about you. Says forgiveness starts at home. Elijah's laugh was sharp. Forgiveness? For being born wrong. No, for the pain I caused. The retreat. I was wrong. Eli. Scared. But God's grace. He cut her off. Grace isn't conditional. And neither is family. The wedding was a spectacle. Poinsettias flanking the altar. Choir belting Amazing Grace off-key. Elijah sat in the back pew, anonymous in a borrowed suit, watching Mom glow under tulle and vows. Reynolds' sermon wove redemption threads, prodigals returning, sins washed white. Subtle digs at modern confusions, but Mom's hand squeezed his during the recessional. Thank you for coming. At the reception in the fellowship hall, punch and sheet cake. Reynolds cornered him by the dessert table. Son, your mother's spoken of you. Proud woman. Hard road you've chosen. Elijah met his gaze, steel in his spine. Not chosen. Lived. The pastor nodded. Avuncular. Fair. But roads diverge. One leads home. Home's where love lives, Elijah replied. Found mine. Hope you treat her right. He slipped out early, air crisp with promise of more snow. On the bus back, phone in hand, he texted Mason. Survived. Miss you. Home soon. But homecoming soured fast. Mason was distant, pacing the apartment when Elijah arrived, snow melting off his boots. Got a call. From your stepdad, dearest. Elijah froze. What? While you were playing family reunion. Said you're confused, needed guidance, offered to fly me out for a chat. With a therapist. Rage boiled. That son of a... Mason held up a hand. I told him to fuck off. Politely. But Eli, it's betrayal squared. Your mom's feeding him ammo. Elijah sank onto the futon, head in hands. She wouldn't. Not after. Wouldn't she? Desperation's her MO. Fix you. Or fix around you. The fight that followed was ugly, words like shrapnel. You don't get it, Elijah yelled. She's trying. Trying to what? Control? I get it better than you think. My folks disowned me at 16. No retreats. Just a bus ticket and a don't come back. But I didn't go crawling. Elijah flinched. This isn't crawling. It's bridging. Mason's eyes softened, but hurt lingered. Bridge too far. And you drown us both. They made up in the dark. Apologies murmured against fevered skin. But the rift lingered, a hairline fracture in their foundation. Winter deepened. Holidays a haze of string lights and solitude. Elijah's art show loomed. Fractured Saints debut at a Logan Square gallery. Invites went out to queer allies, to Mason's comic crew, to Mom, on a whim. If you're free. No pressure. She came. Alone. Reynolds under the weather, dressed in a simple black dress, clutching a poinsettia like a shield. The gallery hummed, patrons murmuring over Elijah's pieces, the raw ache in each stroke. Mom hovered at the edges, eyes tracing Caleb's ghost, a figure mid-leap from shadowed heights, wings half-formed. Eli, she breathed when he approached. They're beautiful. Painful, but true, he swallowed. That's the point. Truth hurts, but it heals. She nodded, tears brimming. I see that now. Reynolds, he pushed for more outreach, wanted me to talk to you. But I said no. You're my son. Not a project. Relief flooded, tentative. Then why the call to Mason? Her face paled. I mentioned concerns. Thought help could. Bridge. Bridge, Elijah echoed bitterly. You almost burned it down. I'm sorry. She pressed a small box into his hands. Dad's old pocket watch. Engraved time heals. Keep this. Remember, love's patient. He pocketed it, throat tight. It is. But so am I done waiting for you to see me. She left with a hug that lingered, real for once. Mason, watching from across the room, joined him later, arms slipping around his waist. Brave, he whispered. Proud. The night peaked in celebration sales, toasts, bodies pressed close on the gallery floor to a indie band's queer anthems. But as confetti rained, Elijah's phone buzzed. Unknown number. Voicemail. Reynolds' voice. Oily calm. Elijah. Your mother's in trouble. Come home. Now. The train to Decatur rattled like bones in a grave, Elijah's pulse sinking with the clack over switches. Mason had begged him to wait. Let me come. Back up. But Elijah couldn't. Not with Reynolds' words looping trouble. Serious. Snow whipped past the windows, blanketing fields in indifferent white, mirroring the void in his chest. Mom's house was dark when he arrived, cab fare burning a hole from his tips. He pounded the door, wind howling accomplice. Footsteps. Then light sliced the crack. Reynolds, shirt sleeves rolled, face etched with false concern. Elijah. Thank God. Where is she? No pleasantries. The air reeked of bourbon and deceit. Upstairs. Pills. Too many. He stepped aside, revealing the living room tableau. Overturned lamp. Bible splayed open to Psalms. A half-empty bottle on the side table. Elijah bolted up the stairs, heart in throat. Mom lay curled on her bed, pale as the sheets. Empty prescription bottle, oxy for the back, clutching the floor. Mom! He shook her gently, checking pulse. Thready, but there. Call 911. Reynolds hovered in the doorway. Phone limp. Already did. Ambulance en route. Sirens wailed distant, closing fast. Paramedics swarmed. Oxygen mask hissing. For lines snaking. Elijah rode in the back, her hand limp in his, Reynolds trailing in his Buick like a bad omen. The yard was a fluorescent purgatory. Beeps and moans, coffee-scented despair. Docs pumped her stomach, charcoal black as sin sluicing down tubes. Overdose, the nurse said. Intentional. Lucky you got here. Hours blurred. Waiting room vinyl sticking to his jeans. Vending machine coffee bitter as regret. Reynolds paced, muttering prayers. She was fine this morning. Talking wedding plans. Then, the call from you, son. About the art show. Said it broke her. Seeing your lifestyle celebrated. Elijah's fists clenched. My life. Not lifestyle. And you? What did you do? Preach her into a corner. Reynolds' eyes narrowed. I counseled. As a husband should. She was torn. Loving you. Loving God. Love doesn't poison. A doc interrupted. Stable. Psych hold for evaluation. Elijah nodded numbly, signing forms. In her room, Mom stirred, eyes fluttering open. Eli, you came. Always. He brushed hair from her forehead, voice cracking. Why? Tears leaked. The show. Your pieces, they're you, fierce and free. I want that for you. But Reynolds. He sees sin. Says I'm failing you both. Pills. Quieted it. Rage surged. But pity tempered it. He's not worth this. None of it. She squeezed his hand. Weak but sure. Leave him? For you. For you. Us. Dawn crept. Gray and unforgiving. Elijah called Mason. She's okay. Complicated. Then faced Reynolds in the hall. She's divorcing you. Get out. He blustered, scripture. Rights, but Elijah's glare was forged in retreats. Touch her again, and I'll bury you in lawsuits. Conversion frauds got teeth now. Reynolds slunk away, tail between legs. A serpent shed. Recovery was jagged. Mom discharged to a women's shelter in Springfield. Court papers filed swift. Elijah shuttled weekends. Mason tagging along when work allowed, his steady presence a balm. They'd hike the bluffs. Mom opening like a fist unclenching. Stories of her own buried doubts. A college fling with a roommate cut short by family shame. "You're brave," she told Elijah one sunset, wind tousling her new pixie cut. "Braver than me. You're catching up." Christmas came quiet, no tree, just takeout Chinese in Mason's apartment. Mom on speakerphone from her tiny studio. "Mary loves both of you." The word both landed soft. A bridge mended. Spring thawed the fractures. Elijah's series went viral. Fractured Saints featured in a Chicago Tribune piece on queer Midwestern voices. Galleries called. Commissions flowed. Mason's comics hit a small press deal. Their worlds intertwining on pages. Outlaws kissing under fractured skies. Mom dated cautiously, a librarian with laugh lines and no sermons. Elijah met her at a diner, grilling gently. "He treats you right? Like gold." Her eyes twinkled. No fixing required. But the past clawed back in May. A manila envelope postmarked Decatur, Hargrove Stationery. Legal notice. Defamation suit. "Your art slanders our good work." Attached. Scans of Elijah's sketches. Twisted as hate speech. Panic spiked. Mason scanned it, cursing. "Bullshit." First Amendment armor. Elijah's hands shook. "They'll drag Mom in." Caleb's story, everything. The lawyer Mason found, a firebrand dyke from Boys Town, laughed it off. "Frivolous. Will countersue for emotional distress. Make examples." But the threat lingered. A shadow. Nights. Elijah sketched obsessively, channeling fear into fury. Saints unbound. Figures rising from chains. Wings unfurling. Climax brewed at Pride Fest. Parade floats rainbow-drenched. Crowds a sea of flags and glitter. Elijah and Mason marched with their art collective. Mom waving from the sidewalk in a Love Wins tee she'd bought online. Cheers swelled as they passed. But then Hargrove's crew. Counter-protesters with bullhorns and signs. "God hates fags." "Repent." The megaphone blared. "Elijah Harper, your mother's shame. Sinner's son." Mom froze. Color draining. Elijah halted the march. Fury cresting. He grabbed a bullhorn from an ally. Voice amplified. "This man peddles poison. Drove friends to graves. My mom? She's free now. Free from your lies." Gasps. Then roars. Supporters surging. Phones capturing. Hargrove's face purpled behind the line. "Lies. I'll sue." "You already tried," Elijah shouted. "And lost." Because truth, it breaks delusions. Chaos erupted. Scuffles. Cops intervening. Hargrove hauled off for incitement. Media swarmed. Headlines the next day. Artist confronts conversion quack at Pride. Mother stands with son. The lawsuit crumbled under scrutiny. Hargrove's retreats, exposed in depositions. Caleb's family testifying. Elijah's countersuit funded scholarships for queer youth. A legacy from fractures. Summer solstice. Mom visited Chicago first time. They picnicked in Millennium Park. Mason grilling veggie burgers. Laughter easy. "Proud," she said, clinking bottles. "Of you." "Us." Elijah hugged her, Mason's hand in his. "Family's not blood. It's chosen," but by kitsch whispered in the idol. Late August. Mom's doc call. Spot on a scan. early but aggressive. "We'll fight," she said, voice steady. "Like you taught me." Elijah's world tilted. Chemo dates marked. Support groups joined. Mason held him through sobs. "She's a warrior. And we're her army." Fall returned. Leaves blood red. Mom rallied. Bald head wrapped in scarves. Attending Elijah's gallery solo show. Unbound. Saints soaring. No chains. She bought the centerpiece. Hung it in her apartment. Elijah and Mason, entwined under open skies. One rainy November eve. Post-treatment clear. She confessed over Skype. The overdose? Not just Reynolds. It was losing you. But gaining you back. Worth every scar. Tears mirrored. "Love you, Mom. Love you more." Winter wrapped Chicago in ice veils. But warmth bloomed in pockets. Mason's proposal on New Year's. Ring simple silver etched with ours. Elijah said yes under fireworks. Mom cheering via video from her remission party. Cake smeared with frosting. Friends toasting her phoenix glow. Life accelerated. Elijah's book deal for Saints series. Illustrations bleeding emotion. Mason's graphic novel launch. Queer epic that sold out signings. Mom relocated north. Tiny bungalow in Evanston. Near the lake. Library job funding her pottery hobby. Sundays became ritual. Brunches at and Sather. Cinnamon rolls sticky as second chances. Yet humanism's quiet pulse beat beneath. Elijah volunteered at a youth center. Mentoring kids with sketchpads and stories. No fixes. Just listening. "You're proof," a teen whispered once. Eyes wide at his scars turned tattoos. "It gets better." Mom joined sporadically. Her presence a bridge. Reading to the group. Sharing her detour to grace. No sermons, just raw. "I was wrong. But love writes it." Spring equinox brought the call Elijah dreaded. Hargrove's empire crumbling. Federal probe tax fraud. Unlicensed therapy. His urban retreat shuttered. Funders fleeing. A final letter arrived. Not legal, but handwritten. "You win, son. But pray for my soul." Elijah burned it with Mason. Ashes to wind. "Not winning," he said. "Surviving." Summer swelled with weddings. There's small affair in a Logan Square park. Mom walking him down the aisle in a suit that matched his eyes. Vows exchanged under an oak. Rings glinting. In fractures and flights. "I choose you." Mason's kiss sealed it. Crowd whooping queer kin. Art fam. Mom dabbing tears with a hanky embroidered love. Honeymoon was a road trip. Route 66 echoes. Motels with neon buzz. Bodies rediscovered in desert motels. "This is us," Mason murmured one star-cracked night in Arizona. Fingers tracing Elijah's wedding band. No delusions. Just truth. Back home. Routine deepened. Shared studio in the apartment. Canvases overlapping like lives. Mom's health held. Scans clean. Pottery wheel spinning bowls for their shelves. But climax's echo resounded in fall. A package from Iowa, Caleb's family, forwarding his journals. Pages yellowed. Words scrawled in stuttered fury. Crushes confessed. Retreat horrors etched. Last entry. "If I jump, tell Eli breathe free." For me. Elijah read aloud to Mason and Mom over cider. Voices breaking in unison. "He saw you," Mom whispered. "Before I did." They founded a fund in Caleb's name. Scholarships for art escapes. No strings. First recipient. A freckled kid from Peoria. Sketches fierce as hope. Thanksgiving gathered them, Mom's table groaning. Turkey, pie, stories swapped. To detours, she toasted, glass raised. And the roads home, Elijah clinked, Mason's knee warm under the table. To truths that break us open, winter solstice, snow blanketing the city, Elijah woke to quiet. Mason sketched beside him, lines fluid. Mom texted from her porch swing, grateful. Always. No desperation, no fixes, just a family forged in fire, humanistic in its mess. Love not as cure, but as constant. Years folded like pages, careers cresting, a adoption dreamed in whispers, a kid with their eyes, their fight. Mom grayed gracefully, remarried to the librarian. Rings exchanged in a backyard ceremony Elijah officiated. Love's patient, he said, echoing her watch. And kind, on a crisp November dawn. 5 years post-retreat, Elijah stood on their fire escape, coffee steaming, watching the sun gild the skyline. Mason joined, arms encircling. Penny, just grateful for the storm. Cleared the delusions. Mason kissed his temple. For the sun who wouldn't break. Below, the city hummed, raw, romantic, unapologetic. Elijah breathed deep, lungs full of possibility. No more hooks, just horizon, wide, waiting. There's. In the end, the desperate mother hadn't fixed her son. She'd freed him, and in that shattering, found her own grace. Truth, after all, was the ultimate humanism, messy, mending, magnificently unbroken.